Alright, today we're going to be practicing telling time. This is a digital clock, which all of you know how to read. It's on everything that you have. 4:35, the hour and the minutes. The analog clock is what gets tricky. That's the one with the hands and the numbers, the one that looks like this. We're going to talk about that. First, there's two hands on the clock, and you can see that one is longer than the other. We have the shorter hand, which is the hour hand. Short little word, hour. Then we have the long hand, which tells us the minutes. You can remember that by thinking that hour, the word hour, is shorter than the word minutes. Minutes is longer than the hour word, okay? So in order to tell time on this analog clock, we first need to figure out the hour, and then we need to figure out the minutes. And we're going to practice doing that. Before we do that, let's talk about AM and PM. AM starts at 12 at night, so you're usually sleeping at that time, I would hope. And it goes until lunchtime, where PM starts at 12 noon. We have, you should write this down, 24 hours in a day, and AM, the AM time is 12 hours long, and the PM period is the other 12 hours. 12 plus 12 is 24 hours in one day. Make sure you have this in your notebook. All right, so let's look at these clocks that we have here. Okay, first ones we have are clocks with hands, and we're going to be able to figure out the time. This clock looks like this. I'm going to put it on my clock. Okay, I notice that I have my shorter hand is my hour hand. I'm going to figure that out first. It's pointing to the 9. When I'm figuring out my minutes, I'm going to count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then this would become 0. Okay, so I have 5, 10, 15. So when my minute hand is pointing to the 3, it's really a 15. So my time on my clock shows 9:15. My hour hand and my minute hand. Let's take a look at our next clock. First thing I'm going to do is figure out which is my hour hand and which is my minute hand. I know my hour hand is shorter. My minute hand is longer. My hour hand is between the 6 and the 7. It's not touching. If I extend this, it's not touching the 7 yet. So that means that it's in between the 6 and the 7 hour. It is not 7 o'clock yet. It is still in the 6 o'clock hour. When the the hour hand touches the 7, then it would be in the 7 o'clock hour. But it's not there yet. It still needs time to get there. So my hour is 6. Now I can go to my minutes, and I'm going to count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. When I am pointed at the 10, I know that it's really 50, and I got that by counting by tens. All right, next one. I have, first thing I'm going to do is figure out my hour hand and my minute hand. My hour hand is short, my minute hand is long. I'm looking at the 2. I see that this is the shorter one, and it's pointed at the 8. So my hour is 8. And then I'm going to count by 5s to figure out my minutes. 5. I need to have a 0 there because this is just like in math with our numbers. If I'm counting by 5s, this is in the ones place. So I need to have a space there because I don't have 10 minutes. I just have the 5 minutes. Okay? So figure out the hour hand and the shorthand, figure out the longhand, the minute hand, and then you have your time. This next one, I already gave you the times. We need to write hands on our clock. So the first one says 3:35 p.m. That's the afternoon. That's when you'd be getting on your bus or seeing your parents after school. So I'm going to start by looking at the hour. It says 3:35. It's a little bit past the 3 o'clock hour, so I'm going to make my hour hand a little bit between the 3 and the 4. It's not exactly on the 3. It's a little bit below the 3 because it's getting kind of close to 4 o'clock. My minute hand is at the 35, so I'm going to count and find out where 35 is. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. That's my long hand, so I'm going to draw it nice and long. That way I know that it's pointed at the 35. This clock shows 3:35 p.m. It's not exactly on the 3 because some of this hour has passed. Okay, let's look at the next one. 12:10 a.m. 12:10 a.m. You should be sleeping. I am. Start with the hours. It's right on the 12. So I'm going to short. Hour is short. Make my hour hand. Then I'm going to make my minutes. I'm going to count by 10. Count by 5s. 5, 10. Here's my minute hand. And I can draw it nice and big, right way over there so I know that that's my minute and that's my hour. Next one is 6:40 p.m. The hour is getting closer to 7, so I'm going to make my hour hand almost pointing to the 7 because it's almost going to be 7 o'clock. Your hour, your 6 o'clock hour moves from the 6 to the 7. So your hand needs to be in between the 6 and the 7. Now I'm going to do my minutes. I'm going to count by 5s until I get to 40. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. I'm going to draw my minute hand nice and long. So I know that that is my minute hand. That one's a little crazy. Okay. Hours, minutes, hours, minutes, hours, minutes. Start with your hour, then draw in your minutes. Hour hand is short, minute hand is long. Now it's your turn to try. You have 2 clocks that you need to put the hands on, and you have 2 clocks that have the hands, and you're going to write down the times. Remember, AM starts at 12 at night, and PM starts about what we would consider like lunchtime at 12 noon. Remember that and think about that for the Now You Try.